The endorsement deals that I've been a part of have been so fun for me and challenging in a way because they've all been really creative, and I've been part of the creative process from the very beginning. It's never really been about just putting my image on something and trying to sell it. Tennis and business are two very different things. The tennis is very physical. You're on the court, you're in the gym, you're sweating. You're trying to make yourself better and better. Business is more strategic. It's something that I have a great team around me that sit down and we look for long term rather than short term.
And are you in a sense laying the ground for life after tennis then?
I'm not really the type of person that likes to sit still and just wander around the house. I can do that for 2 or 3 days and I find myself very bored. So I love to be doing things. I love experimenting. The one thing is that I'm not really afraid to fail at one thing. I think if you haven't tried it, it almost feels to me that I always get the edge that I haven't really put my foot into that. I really want to experiment with that, and if I didn't, I almost feel like I have failed. So there are times many things haven't worked out or come through, or product that I really envisioned but never quite turn out the same on the table, and sometimes it's frustrating, but you always have to look at the bigger picture.
Are there any athletes that you look up to in terms of how you can go down in terms of endorsement deals and how you manage your brand?
I think I've seen many different examples. I think a great one is Andre Agassi, the brand Jordan, and what he's done with Nike on his whole Air Jordan collection that's lived for many years since he stopped playing. Andre Agassi, someone who I watched, play incredible tennis, but also give back to the world in so many different ways. And still, he hasn't played for a few years now, and you see and you hear his voice in the tennis world because he has such a strong influence, not only on that present day and the present match that he played, but to so many young kids that he was an idol, and he still to this day gives back. He helps out in so many communities and charities around the world, and it's an incredible example.
And at what point did you think that you could be successful in designing your own clothes, from when it was all really about being comfortable on court and what you were wearing, and then you had sketch pads on tour with you?
Well, in tennis, we don't have those strict rules of uniforms and everyone dressing the same. And I think many years ago, when I was growing up in the Nike family, I was put into clothes that maybe 10 other girls were wearing, and I always had this idea in my head that I wanted to express individuality. I wanted the product that maybe one day I would create, I wanted to be different, whether it's attention to detail, whether it's different materialization, fabrics and textures. I wanted to play with that and work with that, because I think I can really relate to a woman that loves to be active but also wants to be glamorous and know the trends and be part of the fun times. I think I have both worlds of that, and I can really design from everyone's perspective.
What would you call yourself? A designer, a businesswoman, or an athlete?
No, I'm an athlete first and foremost. So I hope I will be known as an athlete that has worked for everything that I could have, that I always gave my best physically and mentally out on the court, and everything else. Whether it's a designer, it's tough to say that I'm a designer because it's not something I went to school for. It's not something that I started at a very young age. I think when people go out and buy my product, it's not because they think I'm an incredible designer, but I think it's more because they like my taste and they like what I've done with a certain product.